We welcome everybody to the first installment of the Coptic Class 1102 by Dr. Joe Sidrock. Tonight is the first lesson of this semester, and Dr. Sidrock will be covering one of these lessons about questions tonight, quite inflective, inquisitive type questions, the 5 W's essentially of in the Coptic language. If Dr. Sidrock, if you can get us started with a prayer, that'd be great.
Sure. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. The kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil one. Through Christ Jesus our Lord, for the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Okay. Welcome back, everybody who survived the first semester of the Institute. Glad to have everybody back, and looking forward to going through a lot more stuff with everybody this semester, and gaining some more knowledge of the Coptic language, so that again, it's going to be it's like the hard work is always in the beginning, but once we get through some of this material, then everybody will start to see the fruits of the labor, so to speak. So, but anyway, yeah. So welcome back, and again, at any point, if anyone has any questions or anything, just let me know. I'm going to switch over to the other screen. So if I start talking and nobody's seeing the screen, please let us know so we can fix it before I start pointing at stuff, and then you're still just seeing me, basically. I'm going to switch over here in a second. Okay. So basically, we're going to start off this semester here with some of the question words or interrogative particles in Coptic, and I'm just going to kind of go back a little bit. We'll review a little bit of some of the things that we took last semester. It's always good to have kind of a quick refresher course. So, we took several things last semester, including the pronouns that we took. And remember, we had everything is going to be kind of categorized into basically in this table, the vast majority of things. So I have to memorize these 6 parts of this table: first person, second person, third person, singular, and plural. Everything we do, we're going to try to fit it in this table to make things simple and concise as possible. So we had the pronouns. So for example, anok, inthok, intho, and I'm going to kind of point. We're going to go fast through this because all this was from last semester. Third person singular, inthof, inthos. The first person plural, anon, and then the second person, inthothean, and then intho. We took the possessive adjectives. Remember, we had those in masculine, feminine, and plural. The masculine ones start with the P. The feminine ones start with the tav. And the plural starts with the ne. We also talked about the indefinite articles and definite articles. We went through some of the common tenses. There's still several more tenses that we're going to learn, but we went through the simple present tense. And the future tense, the simple future tense, which is basically the present tense with adding this na right after, which is from an ancient word meaning like to go, to do something. So tina, so like I go to do whatever. So that's how it's kind of came together. Then we went through the past tense, which has this alpha prefix, and then the second letter, which is the marker of the whichever person it is. We also did the negative past tense, which has again the prefix of imp, and then changing the final letter of the prefix That's what denotes which person we're talking about. So the negative past tense, like didn't do something in the past. We have the past continuous. Same concept. It's basically the same as the past tense, but has a ne in the front. And as it's called past continuous, it indicates something that was occurring in the past, as opposed to something that happened at one point in time in the past, which would be the simple past. So, for example, I was walking when I saw my brother, as opposed to I walked and saw my brother. And then, and again, if anyone has any questions, please send them in at any time. I think those are some of the main lessons that we took. And so if anyone has any questions or concerns about those, let us know. Everyone did pretty good on the final exam. The one thing I would like to point out for any homework assignments and things like that in the future is it makes it a lot easier if you submit it through the normal submission process using the correct Coptic font. And you can ask the technical support for the website on how to do that if you're still having trouble. But it was a little bit it's a little difficult with getting things in various attachments and all sorts of stuff. So if everyone can please just put the text in there, it'll get graded much more rapidly and with less issues. Also, on the last homework assignment, the final exam, everyone did pretty good. There was a couple cases where I did notice that I think some of the I guess the point was missed in some instances, where we're trying to find certain instances of the Coptic tenses in the liturgy and things like that. And so I noticed that what seems like some people did was they would read the English part and find the word like will, for example, in the future tense, and then go to the corresponding Coptic part, and oftentimes it was actually Greek, like a Greek sentence or something. It wasn't even Coptic, or there was some things like that. So I really want people to focus on the Coptic from here on out, and not focus on the English and then look for the Coptic. It's actually, we really just want to focus on the Coptic language itself, because if we're going to be doing it like that, then we're not going to be learning and benefiting. And then also some things were translated differently. Like, for example, the future tense sometimes has another tense that we're going to get into, and so people were including the wrong tense that we'd never been exposed to before. So I could see that people were just reading the English and just typing what was next to it, as opposed to actually finding what we were looking for in the Coptic. But so those are some of the things that were going on. So just if everyone can pay attention more to the Coptic than to the English, that would be more beneficial to you. And so, with having said that, we're going to get started with lesson 13. We're going to basically just go over some of the interrogative particles. Interrogative meaning question, particles just the word or the prefix. So simply put, question words. And so what does that mean? Those are the words that we use when we're asking a question in Coptic. And using these words or these particles is not the only way to ask questions. There's other ways that we definitely will get into once we get into the grammar of the Coptic more specifically. So let's just go over some of the question words. There's these two here. There are two different ways. So ash means like what or which, like WHICH, what or which. Like, for example, ash in Romi. Let me just go over here and we can type what I'm saying, so it'll be easier. So, for example, like ash in Romi, that would mean like which man or which person, ash in Romi af Moshi eti Ecclesia, like which man walked to the church, for example. Or another common thing that people say is they use this when they're saying like, how are you? They say like ash pe pik. I'm gonna find the ash pe pikriti, for example. So Osh meaning like what or which or how. And pe, remember is. Pick, remember this is the possessive adjective, your. And nariti means condition or state. So what is your condition or state? How are you? So what is your condition or state? That's how some people ask, like, how are you? There's other ways. This is not the only way, but again, this is just some examples of where we see osh. Or like in the hymns, I can't remember exactly where it's just popping in my head, but I think it's some of the hymns for Saint Mary. We say like osh in los ish saji. Saji. So osh in los, like which tongue, and again the future tense na, but it's interrogative. So osh in los na, which tongue will be able to speak about your honor? Like, so it means like who can speak of your honor, basically. I think it's one of the hymns of Saint Mary. So we'll see osh quite a bit. The other one is u. It's another way to say, like if someone asks you a question, and you can just respond with saying like ooh. That means like what, like what or which. So we'll see some examples and make sure we differentiate it from the indefinite singular article. The next interrogative one is nim. Nim. It literally means who. So you can say like nim pe pai. We took all these words before, so that means who. Who is this? So nim means who. Give me 1 second here. Okay. So who is this? Another interrogative particle is thon. Thon means like where. So thon. Thon means where. So for example, one way of asking, like you can say like where is somebody, like af thon inje pato. Where is my brother? Af thon, like he is where, namely my brother. And again, this is past tense, but we'll go into it later. But there's a kind of this thing called like a tense shift, where when you're asking a question, the tense shifts. So the past tense is actually the present tense. But I really don't want to confuse everyone with that right now. But this would mean where is my brother, not where was my brother. But we just really want to focus on the question was. But we'll go into all that stuff. Awir. Awir is a word meaning. Awir means how many, and we see it in different ways. For example, like in the hymn Niknai Upanoti, there's one part which says Ye. Awir. I got it says a different font. It's different than the one I'm used to using. Ye Awir Malon. Ye Awir Malon. So this is actually from the word Awir. I'm just going to type it here. Awir. But it has this alpha in front of it. And then what happens when you have all these consonants, sometimes they just become like a conjunction. So that's why the awir becomes awir. So it's actually ye awir malon, but the word awir is like how many. But this prefix a means it's about how many or approximately how many. It means it's just not a specific number. It means it's like about how many are the sins I committed, as opposed to like specifically how many are the sins I committed. That's where that comes from. So we come across all these interrogative things. In itnaf, in Ithnav. So the word itself, nav, we took that meaning, remember we studied that before, means like to see or to look. But when we take it as a noun, it means like the watch. So the watch or the time. So that's where we get in Ithnav. So in is a linking particle, linking it to something. Ith is the definite article, and then nav. So you can say, for example, of E in Ithnav. Again, this is one of those tense shift things we're not going to go into, but just take it, ignore this et, and we're going to look at this. Of E in Ithnav. He came at what watch? So when did he come? Remember, because the verb to come, E. When did he come? So that's an example of the usage of when. Shah Ithnav. So Ithnav you recognize from the one we just took. It doesn't have this in because we're not linking anything. But Shah Ithnav. Shah means up to or until. So Shah Ithnav means like up to or until. I can't think of an example right off the top of my head, but we do actually come across this in certain places. But it's pretty self-explanatory, up to or until, and then Ithnav, the watch. So until the watch, or until what time. Ithba'u, we run across it quite a bit. Ithba'u comes from the two parts, ithba, which means concerning or of, and then ooh we just took a couple seconds ago. Ooh means what? So ithba'u, for what or why? That's kind of one of the questions you ask for why, like you have to eat food for the siyam, and then you would say ithba'u, or for what or why. So that would be an example. And then the way to say how, ash imriti, in ash imriti. And again, it's from several parts. We just took some of these. So ash, meaning what or which, and riti. And then they have the linking particle in front of it, but that's depending on the sentence structure. So we'll ignore that. Ash imriti means what or which, then linking particle, and then riti, manner. So in what manner or what manner. So like for example, if someone is coming to your house, you say af e pa e in Ashnariti. He came to my house in Ashnariti. In what manner? You know, so for example, did he come walking or on a bicycle or in a car? You know, he came to my house in what manner? How did he come to my house? So those are some of the question words that we'll run across, and there should be, you know, we'll come across those quite a bit. So some of the vocabulary words that we'll want to take is shopi. Shopi means to dwell, to happen, or to become. So Shopi, everyone can probably remember the hymn of Piep Nivma when we said what? As Shopi. I'll make this a little bigger, that might be helpful. As Shopi. As Shopi, remember we talked about the third person feminine sometimes is used for like instead of it. Because remember in Coptic it doesn't have an equivalent of it, but it has the masculine or the feminine or all that stuff. So sometimes the third person feminine, actually in most cases when you're looking for something that's kind of neutral or generic, it uses the third person feminine. So as Shopi Shopi means to happen, and as is the past tense, third person singular feminine. So as shopi, it doesn't mean she happened, but it means it happened, and then you would go to the next part. So that's why the hymn of as shopi in Piet Pneuma, it says it happened that the disciples gathered in one place. So as shopi. And that's the same thing, we'll get into it later, but like Amin es shopi means so be it. The Coptic equivalent of the word Amin, es shopi, it shall happen. Or yeah, so we'll get into this tense later, but that means it shall happen. But again, it's the sima, the third person singular feminine, meaning just a generic like it basically. So it shall happen, or so be it. So that's where we see the word shopi quite a bit. Shoni. Most people probably know this from some of the hymns in the church too. Shoni. Like for example, ni et shoni matal u. Those who are sick or ill. Remember we took this, the imperative, ma. That's the imperative form. So we're like, seeking God, but we're telling him, please heal, heal them. We're like with an exclamation point. Tal cha'u, to heal them. Those who are sick, heal them with an exclamation point. So shoni means sick or illness. Iri. Iri means to do or make something. For example, again, I can't remember exactly where it's from, but like of iri in han esh iri. So again, past tense, third person singular masculine of iri. So he did or he made, linking particle in. Han is the plural indefinite article. Eshviri, wonders or miracles. So he did miracles, or he made miracles. Of iri and haneshviri. So that's what iri is, the verb meaning to do or to make. Tino is just one you have to memorize, but it's kind of easy to remember because nu is almost like now. So tino means now. So won't go into that too much. Meninsa means after. And there's the famous recordings of like the Bruxis hymns for instruction, for example. They always use this. Meninsa han eho ude. Meninsa means after. And so here they have an example of where you would use like meninsa. Meri means noontime. So Meri means noontime. So if you want to say after the noontime or afternoon, you would say meninsa Meri. You can do it with other things too, like you can say like tomorrow. Rasti means tomorrow. You can say, if you want to say the day after tomorrow, you can say in sa rasti, means the day after tomorrow, or you can say menin sa rasti, for example. Also, in certain hymns, we say, for example, like menin sa tere mas are ohi ere poi impartenos. This is one of the hymns for the Virgin Mary. We say meninsa, after, and this is another tense we're going to learn. Give birth to him. So after you gave birth to him, are ohi, you remained, you being a virgin. After you gave birth to him, you remained a virgin. So we see meninsa in all sorts of different situations. It's very common. And tiaspi, that's what we're studying now. So tiaspi. T is the definite article, and aspi means language. And we're learning the language in rem and kimi. So this is from several parts. The linking particle again, T aspi, N, and then the rem comes from romi. It's kind of the prefix form of it when it's linked to a word. In the rem, and then again the particle, and then kimi, which means, I think we talked about it before, but kimi is literally the word meaning black, and it has to do with the fertile soil of Egypt that was very dark in color, so Egypt was called the Black Land. So TSP and then kimi, the language of the black or black land, or the Coptic language or Egyptian language. So we'll go through some examples. We already kind of went through this already. Ash pipikriti, we said that's how are you. And then here's again some examples. Let me see if we can make this a little bigger. And again, if anyone has any questions at any point, feel free to chime in. So T is the simple present tense. Shibh mot, we always translate it as thank, but really it actually means more than that. You may recognize the word ihmot, means grace, and ship is comes from the word like to receive or accept. So I receive grace, and 10 means from. We'll learn about that later. And then ifnoti, I receive grace from God, or I receive grace from you, etc. So like when we say maran shibh mot and tot, it's let us receive grace from God the Father. It's more than just let us give thanks. But that's probably the less cumbersome way of translating it, so we translate it like that. And then the an example of your response. How are you? Thank God, I am fine. So T again is a simple present tense, and wug comes from ugai. It's the qualitative form of the word ugai. Remember ugai kind of choice, or be safe, or be well, or farewell in the Lord. Ugai kind of choice. When it's something that we're going to get into is the qualitative tense. So when it's used in the qualitative tense, it means it's pointing back at the prefix, basically. So when we use it in this way, T wug. T wug means I am faring well, or I fare well, or I'm doing well. So this wug, because it's qualitative, we're going to get into qualitative later because we run into it a lot. Wug points back at this. This is the one who's doing well, as opposed to the transitive form of the verb, which is the regular way the verb is written, when the verb would refer to what's coming next. So that's just the difference between qualitative and transitive. So we'll get into some examples of that later. And so here's several examples. So I'm gonna do the first couple, and then we'll have you guys translate all of these into English for the homework. It should be pretty easy. But let's take a look at these. Thon. Thon, remember, think back. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to give you a second to think about it. Thon means what? Means where? Peh. The pick is the what? Possessive adjective, right? Second person masculine singular. Go means book. Where is your book? Awir. Think about it. Awir. How many? Awir in Osh. Osh is lesson, and this is a linking particle. So how many lessons? Ak. Areh. So how many lessons did you study? Or did you learn? Or did you memorize? So that's all I want you to do is just translate these sentences into English, and it looks like there's about 14 of them, but again, you have a couple of weeks to do it, so it should be pretty easy. And we'll go over the answers next time. So any questions about this or anything at all out of last semester, go ahead and send them. I'm just going to pull up some examples here. We can do some readings for the last 5 minutes or so of the class and before we conclude and have the hymns class. Okay, let's take a look. So again, I just pulled up randomly. Today is the 27th of the Coptic month of Uba, which also has the same readings as all these other days. But you can see our Tuba 27 as well. They have the same readings. So we'll just pick this because it's today's reading, and we can go through. I like to stick with the different gospel readings, but actually I'm seeing a lot of good examples of some things here. So let's actually do the Psalm and the Gospel, because those actually have some of the best and most clear grammar in Coptic. So we'll read the Psalm first. We'll read through the Psalm, and then we can go back and translate it. Af omini ehri egon enje if oini ente pekho ebchois. Akti en unuf echri epahit. Je'enthok emavat ebchois ak ethri shopi chen uhel peace. So we see a lot of the things that we've studied already in this. Af is the past tense. Is a form of the word iri. We just took iri, to do or make, right? Mini means miracle. Mini is the singular indefinite article. So he did a wonder, or he did a miracle, ehri egon, upon us, namely, enje. If uoini is light, the light. So he did a mark or a wonder or a signal upon us or on our behalf, namely the light, inte, of, pik, your, ho, your face, O Lord. So we see the light of your countenance, O Lord, has made a mark upon us. The next psalm, or the next verse, Akti en unuf echri epahit. Akti, remember T is to give. Akti is the past tense, second person masculine singular. So you gave in the linking particle, u, the indefinite article singular, unuf, happiness or joy. So you gave happiness, echri epahit. Echri means, it's a directional adverb meaning to or towards, but in a downward direction. Echri, to, ha, my, heat, heart. So aktimet and unuf echri epahit. You have given joy, or you gave joy to my heart. Je, we'll get into the various usages of je, but je, it's used to introduce a quotation, or it can also mean because. In thok, remember the personal pronoun for you, second person masculine singular. In mavat, alone, or the Lord. But when you say the Lord, it means like, O Lord. So you alone, O Lord. Ak ethri shopi, we just took the word shopi, right? What does shopi mean? It means to allow to exist or to happen or to occur. So you, past tense, ak ethri, we're going to get into that tense. It means to cause something to happen. So you caused me to happen or exist, chen, in, u, a, and helpis, hope. So you caused me to exist in hope. So that's why here it says, for you alone, O Lord, has caused me to dwell or exist in hope. So we can see that we're already learning a lot of these things. If we just with repetition, I know it's hard. It's hard when we're just getting all these random things thrown at you. But with repetition, if you read the Psalmodea, you read from the Bible, and just look for things that you recognize and try to translate them, it'll actually, you'll start to pick it up just like any language. So let's do the gospel, and we'll just kind of read through it again because again we've been now that we're getting in the second semester. If it's not useful for me just to read things to just practice reading or to hear what it sounds like, just let me know. But this was requested of me before to do some reading before we do the translations, just to help everyone hear it. So since we're moving along, if this is not useful for you, just let me know. Okay, in the name of the Father, and Son, and Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Tote, Pedje, Isos, Innif Mathitis. Je, Fi Ethwosh, Emoshi Insoi, Marif Golf, Evo. O Marif Olim Pifstavros, Intif Moshi Insoi. Fi Gar Ethwosh Enohem, Intif Psiki, If Etakos. Fi the, If Natako, Intif Psiki, Ethvit, If Egems. Ugar Eta Piromi, Najamheyo Emmof, Afshan Jamheyo, and Picosmos Tirf, Tifepsiki the, and Tifti Osi Emmos. Emmon, U Peta Piromi Natif, and Etcheveyo, and Tifepsiki. Ebshiri Gar Emefromi, Efneyo, Chenep O and Tepifiot, Nennif Angelos. Tote, if Nati and POY, Kata Nef FVO. Amin, Tigo Emmos Noten, جاون هنون خنيت أوهي إراتو إمبايمات إن سنة جمتيبي إمف مؤان شاتو ناف إبشيري إمف رومي إفنيو خنب أو إنت بفيوت. And glory be to God forever, amen. So let's go through and translate this. Tote is a Greek particle or Greek word meaning then. Peje, again we'll go to peje, but means said, and this can be conjugated in tenses, but we'll go to that. Isos, this is the abbreviation for Jesus, Isos. So then said Jesus in the linking particle, nif, plural, the plural possessive adjective, nif mathitis, his disciples. So Jesus said to his disciples, Je, remember it's the opening of a quotation mark, basically. Fi ethwush. We took the demonstratives, the near demonstrative. Remember, the near demonstrative is phi, meaning this. The further demonstrative, meaning something distant. Fi. So phi goes to phi goes to thi, and ni goes to ni. So we'll go over that over time. So it means, like, if you can say like phi u angelos pe, like this is an angel. But now we're talking about something that's over there as opposed to over here. You say fi ethwush. So that, instead of this, it's that. So that which desires, wush means to desire or want. So that which desires, remember means to, moshi, to walk. So he who desires to walk in soy means after me. We'll get into that later. Marif golf evo, let him deny himself, and marif oli. Oli is the verb meaning to lift or carry. And pif, remember, don't get confused with thinking this is the past negative, because that's the same mistake some people made in the homework, is they just saw this group of letters and said, oh, this is past negative, I'm going to type it and turn it in for my assignment. But that's it's not. You have to look at the context and read it in Coptic and understand what you're reading. So this is actually not the past negative, third person masculine singular. It's actually the linking particle m and the possessive adjective pif. His, meaning his. And stavros, cross. And moshi and soy, walk behind me or follow me. Let's see, we've just got 1 or 2 minutes left before we have to conclude, so I'm just going to see if there's something. Yeah, I guess we don't really have much time left, but yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's any other things that we took from our lesson today. But one thing that we see across, just I'll point out, POY, they don't really have a way of saying like everyone or every man. So what they do is they say the one. That means everyone. The one. So he will give the one according to his works. So just kind of something that's stands out in this gospel reading for today. So I guess that's it. We're supposed to conclude because I know the hymns class, to my knowledge, is going to be starting in the next few minutes. So I'll give everyone a couple of seconds. If you have any questions, please send them in before we conclude with our closing prayer.
Thanks a lot, Joe. And while we're waiting for questions to stream in, if, as you guys know, the way in which we take attendance for the classes is by obtaining a check mark next to the class title, like the lesson for that day. So if you do not have a check mark next to the lesson, that means you didn't attend. So you basically obtain a check mark by opening the lesson and going through it and reading that lesson, and that automatically should generate a check mark for you. If you're having problems with that, which you should not, but if you are having any issues, please message me or message any one of the administrators, and we can kind of look at the technical issues behind that. That's pretty much it. Joe, I don't think we have any questions.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, let's go ahead and conclude then. فنفرع نمفيوت نمبشيري نمببنبما ثواب ونوتي نقوت أمين جيبنيوت اتخني في قوي معرف توبو ونجيب كران مارس إيان جتك متقورو بيتهناك معرف شوبي إما فريتي خانت فاه نمهي جن بيكاهي بين أوي كنتراستي ميش نانم فأو أو كان يتيرون نان إيفول أما فريتي هون أنتنكو إيفول أني أتى ووننتان إرو ووه إمبرنتن إخون أبيرازموس الله نحمين إيفول ها بيبتهو تن بخريستوس إيسوس بن شويس جثوك تتيمت أورو نم تيغوم نم بياو شائنه انتنينه تيرو أمين خنفران مفيوت نم بشيري نم ببنم ثواب ونوت ينوت أمين. Okay, good night everyone, and thanks. And if you have any questions, just let us know, and go ahead and the administrators will upload the homework thing for you guys, and just send that in according to the guidelines. And have a good night.
Great. Thanks a lot, Joe. As always, good night. Thank you so much.